This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. It's your host, Tim Link, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. Super excited to talk to our next guest. She is a research scientist and part of the Duke Canine Cognition Center. And she's also a professional journalist and a best-selling author. So it's going to be exciting. Of course, we're talking about Vanessa Woods. And Vanessa's got a new book out with her partner in crime, we'll call it, Brian Hare. The new book's called Puppy Kindergarten, The New Science of Raising a Great Dog. So I love that. We can never have too many puppy early stage because we know those early stages of puppyhood are critical. So we need all the help we can get. And Vanessa's the expert at that and is going to give us the proper guidance through her new book. So everybody hang tight. We'll come back right after this commercial break. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Joining us now is a best-selling author, award-winning journalist, and of course part of the Duke Canine Cognition Center, Vanessa Woods. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're excited about it, and I love the book and all the, I will admit I'm not a science guy, but I do like to delve into the minds of everything, including our puppies, because trying to keep up with a puppy is a full-time job in itself.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've got the great book, Puppy Kindergarten, out.
Yeah, it is a full-time job, and when there are 7 of them, I feel like it goes exponentially with each puppy. But yes.
I love that. I reflect back. I remember we have schnauzers. We're a schnauzer family, and when our Buzz and Woody made their transition, we went for just a brief while without a pup, and then we started looking at people presenting schnauzers to us and saying, "Oh, this will be the perfect one for you." And next thing we know, we had a list of like 7 or 8 schnauzers. Fortunately, we figured 2 is plenty, and that's all we can handle. And I'd sort of forgotten that we went about a 20-year span between having, the puppy to the adulthood and then getting the new puppy. And I had forgotten rather quickly about what it takes to be a puppy parent. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they're just like babies. You just forget everything. And then you do it again. You're like, oh my gosh, how did I do this?
That's
crazy.
it. I always said to you, play 10 minutes on the floor playing, then they take a nap for 5, and then they're ready to go again. You got to feed them and poo them and pee them again and teach them all this stuff. So tell us a little bit about, Puppy Kindergarten. Yeah, you call it the new science of raising a great dog. So I want to delve into that and what's your insights. So tell us a little bit about the book.
So Puppy Kindergarten, it's not really a place, it's kind of a philosophy that we have. And it's about, basically a new way to raise a dog. And, I think that we're in this real cultural moment right now where, a lot has changed. Like since you raised your puppy 20 years ago, and, I know when I was a kid, dogs used to just, roam around. My dog would roam around the neighborhood. She'd jump the fence. She'd be back by dinner time, kind of like me, as in my childhood. But, within a generation or a really short time, the way we raise our kids are different and the way we raise our dogs are different too. So they're much more part of the family. Parents have a lot more influence and involvement in our dogs' lives. They're rarely off leash. We have to take them to class. We've got to make sure they get enough exercise, they're eating all the right foods. And, this comes with these wonderful benefits. We spend more time with our dogs than ever, but it also comes with a unique set of challenges. And that's really what we wanted to address with Puppy Kindergarten.
I was reflecting back with my wife the other day about raising puppies from when we got our first dog when we were in college together, and all the subsequent dogs, and a plethora of other animals, of course, but dogs in particular, and the advancements and everything from veterinarian care to training techniques to food to treats to, socialization, behavior. I mean, all of it's fantastic, but it can get very overwhelming because, like you said, in my day at least, in your day, yeah, the dog was get the dog, feed the dog, let the dog run around, and there you go. There's your dog.
Yeah, no, that's right. And in the 80s, at least, if you let your dog jump into bed with you and sleep with you, the next morning you'd probably both wake up covered in fleas because, so medicine's come a long way. And then just also, the way we think about dogs, we've discovered more about the dog mind in the last 10 years than we have in the last century. So, understanding the way they think has been part of our research program for, several decades now. But, we were kind of like using puppies to kind of figure out like what comes online first, like the different intelligences they have. So what we learned about puppies really does just apply to all dogs.
Let's talk a little bit about that, the research that you have been doing for quite some time. And I want to talk about also the surprises that come along, the advancements of it, but also the surprises going into it, maybe thinking your research was going to lead you down one path and you found out it was something totally different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we have like, I guess the way it kind of like just clicked for us is that, we had like thousands of people, who visit the puppy kindergarten and, in this cultural moment that we were talking about, people saying, well, is there a group of dogs or is there a breed of dogs that really kind of like fits into this modern lifestyle? And then, Brian and I realized like, oh my gosh, yes, they're these puppies. And so we work with service dogs from canine companions, and they, come to us when they're 8 weeks old, and we sort of like play this set of games with them every 2 weeks until they're 20 weeks old to kind of like see how their minds develop. So that period from like 8 to 20 weeks old is the final period of rapid brain development. So what we were really interested in is trying to graduate more service dogs, because at the moment it takes, 2 years and tens of thousands of dollars before you even figure out if they're going to make it. So what we were trying to do with this whole project was increase the number of service dogs by looking at puppies and seeing if we could predict early which puppy was more likely to make it.
Now, did you find through your research that you mentioned particular breeds, and we know for service dogs, certain ones seem to excel, we'll say, but what was the factoring as far as not only a particular breed, certain ones can succeed, but are there other individual personalities that we know the animals have that may not even be part of the breed that you were considering?
So I think two things. I actually think that any dog could be a service dog. It really does, as you say, depend on the individual. I think the reason why canine companions and other service dog organizations use sort of like, labs or lab golden retrievers mix is because it's what people think of is when they think of a service dog. And people with disabilities have such a high barrier into entry places anyway. Like you don't want them turning up with like, like a dachshund and saying, yes, this is a service dog, and, have them be refused entry or all the associated problems that come across with that. But having said that, service dogs do need to be a certain size if they're going to turn light switches on and off, if they're going to help you with the laundry, if they're going to pull you in a wheelchair. So I think that breed was just kind of like universally settled on because of the perception of what a service dog is, and then also what they're able to do. But what we found out with breeds, because, we have like a database of like tens of thousands of dogs in doing this kind of like citizen science project called Dognition, where they actually play the same games and do the same experiments that we do at Duke. And what we found was, because there we really have like, maybe 30, 40,000 dogs. And so we've been able to look at different breeds. And what we found is, really our main discovery with the puppies is that dogs have multiple intelligences. There is not one breed of dog that is smarter than all the other breeds of dogs. So different breeds are good at different things. And, so I think, for example, just kind of like looking at our data, I think pit bulls were the best at the memory tasks that we were looking at. Bernese mountain dogs were kind of like really high on the communication. So it's not like the breeds that you would typically think of as being smart, like border collies, German shepherds, poodles. They didn't really sort of like stand out. But, the main thing is that there's different kinds of intelligences, and, just like people, different dogs are good at different things. And, then on top of that, you've got the individual variability. So even within a breed, you can have kind of like, genius dogs, as you were, like dogs who are just like good at everything. And then you can have, dogs who are not really that great at everything. And then you have just like everything in between, right? Like, just because you have a good memory doesn't mean you're like a good communicator, and vice versa, that kind of thing. So yes, that was a long way to say you're right.
Hey, as long as you get to the I'm right part, then we're all okay.
As long as we finish with that. Okay.
That's right. You got that. So I love the fact that, because I've always said this too. I mean, even when I reflect to some previous schnauzers that we had, they're brothers from the same litter. Oftentimes people think, well, they got to look alike. Well, they didn't. They got to act alike. They didn't. They were very much bonded, for sure. One would not go anywhere without the other. So they had that good telepathic connection and heart connection that they had, but they were totally different personalities. And one was a lot more serious, took things serious as far as watching out for the family, watching out for the door. Even though I told him he didn't have to, he could chill out a little bit. You still had that. And the other guy was just, very smart, but very fun and, go lucky. He went with the flow. And so I always told our one dog, Woody, was like my wife, super smart, focused, ready to go. And the doofus was Buzz, which was me. So that, that worked out well.
No, and I think that's true of everybody who has more than one dog, is that you really see that even if they look exactly the same, like you get the same dog from the same breed or whatever, they can be completely different. Like they're just like people. And I think that's really where, the science of cognition has been really helpful, because, studying intelligence instead of just temperament really kind of like just adds a lot to this phenomenon of personality.
You've been doing this for how many years now?
So many.
Many.
I feel so old just thinking about it, but you know what? It's not as old as Brian, because he's been doing it since he was 19. So Brian really was doing this in the 90s. So, he was at the forefront of this kind of like revolution in dog cognition, because, before that, scientists didn't really think that dogs had much to offer. Like, they were kind of like dumbed down because of domestication. They couldn't really survive. They weren't as majestic as a wolf. And there was just this kind of concept that domesticated animals were dumber than their sort of wild counterparts. But it's not true. Dogs have this incredible set of cognitive skills that make them the most successful mammal on the planet besides us.
There you go. I love it. Well, I didn't mean to date you there, and I've always heard, I always say, I've been doing this since I was 2, and then I start to calculate how many years I've been working with animals. Like, oh, I am getting up there, even if I started at 2.
It's okay. Our friend Isabella Rossellini, she's always saying, I don't mind how old I am. I actually like to get older, so I always just look to her for inspiration.
There you go. Well, when doing the research behind it and putting together the book, Puppy Kindergarten, what will the readers gain from the total insight, or any aha moments, without giving the whole book away, but anything that are like, wow, this is cutting edge, or this is something that I've read every puppy book out there, from positive training to dominant training to this to that. This particular book, Puppy Kindergarten, is going to teach me what little tidbit that maybe you don't see anywhere else.
I think it's that what service dogs have to teach us about raising great dogs, and what service dogs have to teach us about this cultural moment that we're in right now, where, the role of dogs has just changed so much from what they were before. As you say, one of your schnauzers was like, a guard dog and a protector, even though he didn't have to be, but that's what dogs were. And that's what they have been for like 14 to 40,000 years. Our relationship was, built on the fact that they could defend our property and our loved ones and, our houses from external threats. And we don't need that anymore. And as a matter of fact, we don't want that anymore. And, so now we're changing really fast from all this emphasis on breeds and what's a breed is supposed to be and what they're supposed to, sort of like what they're supposed to bring to the table, to this really dramatic shift of like, actually, no, we need a dog who can sit quietly with us in a cafe. We want dogs who are going to be kind to children and gentle with the elderly. We want a dog who can come with us on family vacations and be with us in our lives in a way that service dogs have been for, over a century. I mean, they're so ahead of the curve. So I think that's really something that's new and surprising to a lot of people. Just kind of like identifying, number one, that we are in this cultural moment, and then number two, really thinking about what is the kind of dog that we want and how different that is to anything that we've, wanted from them before.
I love it. I love it. And in the book, you do a fantastic job of sort of giving the history of where we were, where we're at, and where we're going. And the back part of it, I loved in particular the fact that you do give some tidbits, on how to pick out the right shampoo or what to look for with, various terminologies that we hear out there. So I applaud you for doing a great job from front to back on the book.
Well, that was really funny. That was actually the pandemic that did that, because everyone we know suddenly had a puppy. And then so everyone was like writing to us and asking, oh my gosh, what do we do? And we're like, well, here's our schedule and here's our list of supplies. And we just had like, so many people going, oh my God, that was so helpful, because, we used to just throw the puppy outside and just leave them there all day. I mean, that's what dogs did. But now it's like, I think a lot of people are surprised by how intensive it is. And that, as you said, you really need the schedule. It's like 5-minute play and then followed by 10 minutes of this. And then your puppy's going to need a nap. It's like, so that's why we put that in there, because, a lot of people found it helpful just to know what they were getting into.
Yeah, even a section on diarrhea. I think that may be a first one, and it's so important.
Yes. Outsized role.
I love it. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back and continue our conversation with Vanessa Woods about her book, Puppy Kindergarten, The New Science of Raising a Great Dog. Everybody hang tight. We'll be back right after this commercial break. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio.
Hi, this is Tim Link, animal communicator and pet expert and host of Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have you ever wanted to know what your pet is really thinking? Do you want to find out if they truly understand what you're trying to tell them? Or wish you could build a better understanding and closer relationship with your pet? Well, now you can. Learning to Communicate with Animals is a 4-part on-demand workshop. In the workshop, you'll learn the essential techniques that are necessary to communicate with animals, including what is animal communication, breathing correctly to achieve the perfect state to communicate with your animals at a deeper level, using guided meditation exercises, a method to communicate with animals, and how to send and receive information from your animals. So if you're wanting to learn how to communicate and connect with your animals at a deeper level, visit PetLifeRadio.com/workshop and purchase and download Learning to Communicate with Animals. You'll be glad you did.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Continue our conversation with New York Times bestselling author Vanessa Woods and her latest book, Puppy Kindergarten, The Science of Raising a Great Dog. So, Vanessa, when everybody picks up a copy of the book and they read through it, whether they have a puppy or not, what do you hope the takeaway is from this? I'll leave it to that. What's the one thing, if you had one message to get across, what would you hope that would be?
That the minds of dogs are really important, and that understanding the way their minds work and the way they understand things and see the world is like one of the best things you can do for your relationship.
I love it. And I think that's very true. I complain a lot or stand on my soapbox, rightfully so, that, we see, you mentioned the pandemic, and even in our neighborhood that we live in, a lot of families did not have dogs until the pandemic hit, and they all got dogs and they all kept their dogs and they're out walking their dogs, which is all fantastic. But my soapbox is, getting the dreaded cell phone out and looking at the phone, reading through the phone, doing the text, whatever, while you're walking your dog. And so I think you're missing out on the key point of not only being able to understand what your dog wants and needs, but connecting with them and understanding them from a little bit higher level and a little bit higher mental level.
Well, in the book, we really tried to explain the games that we were playing in a way that, even like a fourth grader could kind of like do them. And it's not complicated. They're like cups and, some boxes. But, there's one game that's my favorite, and it's called The Impossible Task. And what you do is you just like lock a treat in one of those snap lock containers, the snap lock one, the rubber. And then you just see what your puppy does or what your dog does. And some dogs will like just kind of like really try and open it by themselves. Like they're very wolf-like, like, the military dogs we work with, they're like really self-starters. And then, but then, some dogs will just kind of like look at you, like stare at you as in, hey, human, you with the opposable thumbs, open this for me. And, number one, it's like really fun just to see what your dog is and how they solve problems. Like, are they independent problem solver? Are they going to ask you for help? And the second thing is that when we played this game with puppies, once every 2 weeks for 5 minutes, it doubled the amount of eye contact they make. And of course, eye contact is really important for, bonding, basically. It's what our little babies use when they're awful and they don't do anything but cry. And the way they elicit kind of like love and attention is they just make eye contact with you, and it makes your eye contact go up. Your oxytocin go up and your baby's oxytocin go up. And, dogs have managed to hijack this oxytocin bonding pathway. And so, when your puppy is staring at you and you're staring at your puppy, like, or your dog, like the oxytocin of both of you goes up, and it just makes you feel loving and loved. And so, I think that's, if people are going to play one game with their dogs, I think that one is a really important one.
I love it. And that's such when you peel back the onion sort of thing, it's so simple. I can't count how many toys and games I have in this house. I am that pet parent. I will say that, especially when I used to travel all the time internationally. I always bring back, 2 or 3 toys. And so we've got them laying everywhere in the house. But a simple game, take a treat, hide it in a container in this case, make contact, play for 5 minutes. It makes the world of difference. You can connect it with your animals at a much deeper level.
Yeah, no, and it's just like kids, right? I mean, yeah, you can hang out with your kids while you're on your cell phone, but I mean, they want to play with you. Like they want to do something with you, and it doesn't have to be expensive and it doesn't have to be complicated. But I think, pet owners, that's why Dognition was so successful, is because it was a new way to play with their dogs, like engaging with them and asking them to make choices that allowed dog owners to kind of, see how their dog thought and understood the world. And that's not something you can do just by kind of, watching them run around. I mean, you have to ask them questions and, they got to make choices.
I love it. I love it. And everybody can learn all about this when they pick up a copy of Puppy Kindergarten, The New Science of Raising a Great Dog. So now, Vanessa, we know you're a world-class journalist and top-notch best-selling author and have this latest wonderful book out. So we've got to pick your brain a little bit about writing in general. Your techniques, what's your methods? Are you a 5 a.m. every morning, 5,000 word person? Or are you like me and you got a week till deadline, you got to get something out?
Well, that's funny because you're such a great writer. I wouldn't have thought you were like a crush to the deadline. And you're also so prolific. I wouldn't have thought that you would have had, I would have thought you'd have to be writing all the time.
Well, thank you for reminding me to put the check in the mail to you. While I get that out there.
But for us, I'm just like a consistent writer. I write every day when I can. I mean, I'm running the puppy kindergarten. I've got 2 kids. Everybody's got their schedule. So it's just kind of like a really write when you can kind of thing. Like sit down, you got 30 minutes, you like smash it all out and stuff like that. And then Brian, and I write together. And we'll just be like emailing each other while we're sitting next to each other. It's just kind of like, it's not really like talk. It's much better if it's just emailing back and forth. So yeah, that's how we do it. But I mean, writing about puppies is just such a joy because you just remember all the funny things they did and like the different puppies and the ones who were like crazy genius puppies and the ones who were like really struggling with tests that were like developed for pigeons. So I mean, it was just, and then everything in between, right? So yeah, no, this book was a joy to write.
That's great. Yes, they are. Just the idea. I mean, dogs in general, I get a kick out of them every day. One of my schnauzers is 12, and she just constantly surprises me every day on the fun and active things. You know, she brings fun to the table. That's her role. That's what she chose to do, and it's constant, fun time, play time with her. It makes me reflect back to those puppy days when we first started this journey together, and what we did and what we wished I would have done even better. It's a learning process as we go along. So it is a joy. Well, I think you and Brian probably need to play the hide the treat in the container game so you can at least still 5 minutes together instead of emailing each other back sitting next to each other. I think that's the key. Well, it's good, and that's very helpful from a writing standpoint because obviously I've been doing this show for quite a while, and I know a lot of great writers and authors that write at various platforms, and everyone has their own unique take on it. And that's why I try to bring to the listeners is the fact that you can be that 5 a.m. every morning, 5,000 word per author and writer. You can be the last minute person. You can be still whatever amount of time you can. The fact is, you have such a busy schedule, obviously, and family life and work life and job life, all of this, but still managed to put together a world-class book. And I applaud you for that.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah. So I love it. Everybody pick up a copy of the book, whether you have a puppy or not, whether a puppy's going to be coming in your life, which probably will. If you love animals, they're going to be coming. But learn a little bit about the background, the science, and everything, and some new techniques. Pick up a copy of the book. It's called Puppy Kindergarten, The New Science of Raising a Great Dog. Brian Hare and, of course, Vanessa Woods. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure indeed. I love the book, love what you do, love what you do over at Duke. So just keep up the great work.
Thanks so much, Jim. It was so fun to be on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, we're coming to the end of the show today. I want to thank everyone for listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Want to thank the producers and sponsors for making this show possible. If you have any ideas, comments, or want to suggest people to come on the show, drop us a line. You can go to PetLifeRadio.com, and we'll entertain your comments, answer your questions, and bring on the people you want to hear from most. And while you're there, check out all the other wonderful, great shows. It's a cornucopia of barking, furry, feathered, finned fun. It's PetLifeRadio.com. So until next time, write a great story about the animals in your life, and who knows, you may be the next guest on Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have a great day.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.